community and beyond.
Okay, I think it's starting. Hey guys, I'm here with Mark from ENFP Perspectives. Mark, would you like to introduce yourself and tell a little bit about you for people that may not know?
What am I supposed to say about me? I'm Mark. I'm an ENFP. I'm kind of quirky and weird. I'm interested in all kinds of things. I like the MBTI community on YouTube because I don't get a chance to talk about that with other people. Not many people are into this topic. Yeah, I don't know why. It's very fascinating to me. Enneagram theory, any theories about personality and psychology interest me a lot. Have for a while.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody.
Do you have any other things you want to say before we get into the nitty-gritty of this interview? Or
Not really.
Well, I'm going to plug your channel a few times, but for those of you who haven't ever checked out Mark's channel, ENFP Perspectives, you should, the link is in the description box below, and you guys should definitely subscribe to his channel because he has some very interesting videos.
Thank you. I haven't been putting much up because I thought I'd take a break for a while because I was a little upset for a while. So it's kind of experiencing some, I call it cognitive dissonance about certain things going on in my life at the time. So I just took a break from it. Because internet can be a little confusing at times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I haven't really taken a break since I started, I like to say I started in January, even though I've had this channel for a while. I mean, I didn't actually post really, but the only time I took a break was, well, I guess it made sense because I had shingles, but.
Yeah, that sucks. I had it too when I was about 42, 43, but I had it down on my abdomen.
Yeah.
But you had it up in your head, right?
Yeah, I had it. Well, I've shown people before.
Oh, you got, yeah. It hurts so bad.
What did it feel like to you? It felt like an electric shock to me.
Yeah, when I had it, and this is going back like over a decade, I thought I was having like a kidney stone or something because it's down in my abdomen, or or some kind of stone was going to pass, and I had to get up in the night and walk around. I was in agony.
Oh wow.
Several weeks. I didn't know what it was.
Yeah, I didn't know either. Actually, the way I found out, I mean, it was still in its early stages when like the little tiny bumps show up.
Yeah, it's like a rash at first. Right?
I thought I had because I don't know these kind of things.
I'm obviously not. Nobody knows until you get it, right? And then it's like, oh my God, this is awful.
Well, luckily my dad is a physician, so I just sent him a photo and he was able to tell me. He's like, I think it's shingles because it's not crossing the midline. Because when you get on the face, it doesn't cross. And he said when it goes down the nose, like once it gets to the tip of the nose, like the more serious it can be.
You're very young to have it.
Yeah. Well, I had chicken pox when I was 10 months old. So you're at higher risk if you've had it before the age of 18 months.
Yeah. To anybody who's watching, if you ever had chicken pox, shingles is lying dormant in your nervous system, just waiting to pop.
And I mean, most people don't know that.
No, I didn't know it either.
Yeah, and the sad part is like the vaccine is only really for, I think it's like, you have to be, it's either 50 something or 60 something to get it covered by health insurance, the vaccine.
That's weird.
Yeah, but
what kind of crazy rule is that? Who makes up these crazy rules?
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't like. There's something to know about ENFP. We don't like rules, especially silly rules that stop people from achieving any form of success or health or like don't like it.
You don't like those pesky rules.
Pesky rules. Yeah. I don't know. I don't get to talk to too many ENFPs. Actually, nobody really enjoys talking about typology. I don't understand why. It's very fascinating to me. Anybody I get to know, I ask them to do the test. So one of my students I do one-to-one work turns out to be an INFJ.
Really?
Yeah, we meet about once a week, and she's an English student, and I help her with her pronunciation. She's from Colombia. She talk with E and I sound very strangely. Sorry, I do accents of people.
No, I think that's really cool.
Yeah, she's nice. I thought she might be. I knew she was an I and an F because she's very quiet, and you can tell feeler types pretty quickly. But then it's like, I don't know. After that, I don't really know. How good do you think you are at typing people now?
It's hard to say. Like, I kind of have gut reactions about people. Sometimes in the interviews, it's like, well, for example, I mean, there's really no doubt in my mind that you're an ENFP. But then again,
Yeah, there's not much doubt either.
like, there's
I'm
just
really good. Go ahead.
Oh, I was like, there's just some people that really scream their type.
Yeah.
But I think it's like a fine line because I feel like I do better in person typing people. Especially if I kind of know more background about like how they are, I'm able to like see them interact and see their like facial expressions, stuff like that more. But then it's like at a certain point it can become difficult. Like if I know them like too well, like my family or like close friends, it can become more difficult to type them. It's almost like a stranger that I have no idea about.
Yeah. I've gotten pretty good at spotting ENFPs. They're not hard. We're not hard to spot. We're kind of like all a little bubbly and bouncy and all over the place.
Yeah, I think ENFPs are one of the easier ones for me to spot too. Also, ESFPs are kind of, for some reason, ESFPs are pretty. It's like I can see it in their eyes. Like
Yeah.
they're like the extroverted sensing in their eyes. I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah. My niece Katie is ESFP. We're very similar, but we're very similar emotionally, but she doesn't have this intuitive aspect. So I was talking to her about it, and it's like the way we put information together. I put information together, big picture kind of stuff. Where she's like, so you don't do that, do you? No. She's just, things are at the surface for her.
Well, even on that though, maybe this is just like older ENFPs. I mean ESFPs, but I found that ESFPs are actually pretty deep thinkers.
Are they?
Way than intuitives of going about things, but I find them very deep. And it's like this, it's a different way than like I would say an intuitive is.
My niece is 21, so I don't know if she's gotten to any deep territory in her lifetime. Very people oriented. She's really good with me. See, that's how I got this. She bought me this. Yay!
Cool.
Yeah.
I actually wanted to ask you, and I feel like this is a good segue because you were kind of talking about introverted feelers with ESFPs and ENFPs. How would you I know this is kind of a hard, can be hard, but how would you describe the difference between introverted feeling and extroverted feeling in your own words?
Yeah, so I understand mine very well.
Okay.
One of my friends is an INFP, one of my good buddies, Dan. And I think FI is very, very intense function. We're very emotional people, but very deeply emotional, and surprisingly so. But sometimes you might not notice it until we're in that moment, and then it can be very intense. And it can be either way. It can be intense in very happy, positive ways, or sometimes very intense in very sad or difficult ways, or for other people. So you can tell too, we usually tear up very quickly. And that's, we're being hit by something that's very strong for us, possibly overwhelming. Yeah. Happens to me. I'm a very emotional male too, so it's a bit odd. Me. It's, you know what, for the males, I think males with strong FI, life is difficult for us because I'm also HSP, right?
Mm-hmm.
Suspect you are as well, by the way.
Yeah. I tested, and I think I may have not. It was either I didn't relate to one, or maybe two, or maybe I got all of them. I don't know.
It's not easy being an HSP in the world. How many times have you heard this? Oh, you're too sensitive, just get over it.
Well, I mean, I don't know if you. So I've said this a few times in videos, but it's like sprinkled about. I don't think I've made like, maybe I have made a video that focused on this, but growing up, I used to cry quite a bit. And
I still do, and I'm 56.
well, I mean, I do too. Like, it's very common for me to cry once a day. Like, and it's not like the same as what it used to be, but I see something emotional, like something on, I don't know, like a stupid what people would say is like a stupid or cheesy video, and I would start crying. Like, there's this gum commercial. It's like the extra gum commercial. Have you ever seen that one where it's like, well, basically the premise of the commercial is this girl and this guy meet in high school, and they like draw, well, the guy like draws pictures on these extra gum wrappers, and basically it goes through basically their dating life, and then he goes into this room, and there's like these little gum wrappers everywhere, kind of capturing each milestone of their relationship, and proposes to her. I'm like about to tear up even like thinking about that.
Yeah, I have one. I'm from Canada, and there's a big franchise up here called Tim Hortons, which is
I've been there.
yeah, there's getting into the States now, right? And there's
Canada, so.
this one commercial they ran in the past where it says this father and daughter relationship. I turn into a sobbing mess when I see it. A beautiful father daughter, like, okay, I'm thinking about it and I'm already feeling it, right? Like, oh, yeah, so same. I don't quite fully understand the difference with FE because I've always thought about FE as like a hand into the world. So your sense of feeling tends to go out to others with the connecting feeling and trying to create a sense of connectedness and community between other people around you. That's how I think of FE. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think you're pretty spot on with that assessment.
Like, I would think you're probably happiest, and most FE people, if they're in a group of people, particularly, and the closer they are to you, if you see them all getting along really well, that is the most joyful experience you can have.
Oh yeah. Well, for example, so it's going to be Thanksgiving in the States.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Thanksgiving.
Well, Thanksgiving in Canada's in
October. Yeah.
But so I have a group chat with all of my friends. I don't know if any of my friends are, well, not all of my friends, but this like group of friends that people have seen in vlogs. But I'm like, well, after I get off Thursday and Friday, like from work. So on Wednesday, I'm actually going to drive to Georgia, and I was asking if anybody wanted to hang out. And like my perfect, like what I'm so proud of like in school was my ability to like bring people together, because my favorite thing, like, and everybody getting along, having like, I would throw parties, and it was like I would throw these parties, like theme parties, different parties, but it wasn't really because I enjoy parties necessarily, but I like to bring people together.
Yep.
I like to kind of control the mood that's going on by myself throwing it.
Yep, that makes sense. It doesn't sound like, though, when you say control the mood, it doesn't sound like it would be controlling. It's this desire to create group harmony. Yes. That's what I think FE people are about.
Yeah, I don't think of it as controlling either, but I know it kind of is. Well, I mean, it's not like I'm telling people how to act and stuff, but I do certain things in order to I don't know. I like will have certain music playing. I'll have
Mhm.
like, food, just different things to kind of set the mood for people.
I would also suspect the reverse would be true. If there's people that you're close to and you love and they're not harmonizing well, you'll probably get distraught. If
Yeah.
they're in disagreements and they're upset, it's like, so I'm right, aren't I?
Yeah, you are right. I mean,
Yeah, you're like, what? Please, just could you just get along?
well, what also can be hard is like not even if people aren't getting along with one another, it's if one or more people in the group, it's not like they hate someone else or something, but they're having a bad day or they feel left out in some way or like some type of thing. I actually so well, actually I'm not going to throw this person under the bus. It's not that big of a deal, but one of my friends they sometimes feel this way and they'll it does throw off the harmony a little bit. And I don't blame this person for acting that way, but it's not something that I hate. It would be worse if they weren't getting along, but it's like, I feel on edge in those kind of situations.
Yeah, that bugs me, but I don't think the same way that it would bug you. Uh, what bugs me if people do, to be honest, I think FI in its way, and this is going to sound a little awful, is kind of a more selfish function, if that makes any sense. All
No.
right. Yeah. We know what's going on with us. We either like or don't like what's going on with us. And if you're part of the experience that's making things unpleasant for us, you're going to get to know about it pretty quickly.
Well, I mean, I don't think this will come as a surprise, but the person that I'm talking to is an FI user. So, I mean, talking about is an FI user, and they make it very apparent if
Yeah,
in a
it
high.
can be. Yeah, and for all those people who learn about FI user types, like seriously, never cross our boundaries. Like you're in for a world of annoyance. Like just don't do it because it hurts us. And if we've allowed you into our lives, that means we approve of you. So don't screw things up with us.
Yeah.
Because I think something about ENFPs that I've learned from researching and understanding myself. I'm not sure why exactly, but apparently we're extremely good at reading and understanding other people. And I don't exactly know why yet. It's strange. It's kind of like one of the other ENFPs I like, the fellow, he calls it travels around the world. I think his name is Dan. I don't watch his channel as much as I would like to. But he says we have kind of a superpower. And I don't mean to be egocentric about ENFPs, but we're quite good at understanding what's going on with other people, at least as we mature.
I agree, and in a way, I actually wanted to kind of bring this up later, but it kind of makes sense to bring it up now. I feel like, I mean, it makes sense because I think ENFPs and INFPs, even though we're very different, we're very similar. Um, it's just like we're the opposite. Oh, not the well, we are kind of like the opposites of one another because you lead with extrovert intuition, I lead with introverted intuition, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And I think both types are very good at reading other people, but in different ways. I've
Yeah.
definitely seen, I have quite a few well, not quite a few, but a good amount of ENFP friends where I'm very like they come to the same conclusion in a different way.
Yeah.
Um,
I think it works like this for me. It's almost like we can see the facts that are going on in another person's life and then almost jump into what their experience is like and therefore understand what they're experiencing. But we piece it together from little bits of information and we go, oh, you probably feel really bad, don't you? I go, yeah. Like, okay. I think we piece it together using NE and then we kind of jump into what it would feel like. And yeah, if that makes any sense.
no, I think it does. I think it is more rooted in, which sounds kind of hard to explain, but like NE is more rooted in fact in a way, because
Yeah, in a way.
it's more objective. So NI, introverted intuition, is subjective, and extroverted intuition is objective. And
Yeah.
I think I think you made a really good point about how you come to conclusions about things, whereas I come to conclusions by just merely seeing a pattern. I mean, I don't really have necessarily. I mean, I can have the details, but it's not necessarily that I have the details of someone's life. It's just I see a reoccurring pattern, and I'm able to piece things together. Whereas for you, it's like it's a bit different.
It's very, I also think, and I don't know, because I don't get to talk to many people about this, I have a sense that NI is quite unconscious at times in its data gathering. You don't, like I tried to create a video to describe how I think about what it may be like. It's almost like little threads of information are running around. And you know they're going to meet up somehow. Like a pattern is forming.
Yeah.
Finally, it does. And then a lot of awareness comes. Like you get aha moments about things.
Well, and the thing is, I think what makes it kind of weird about, especially INFJs, but also INTJs aren't as keen to let people know the patterns. I think they still experience this as well. But like, for example, with my sister as an ISTJ, um, I've had so many moments with her where I've said things like just that seemingly are come from out of the blue, of like first impressions about people. And like it's like we think so. Introverted intuition thinks that we're being objective about our like facts. We think that we are finding things that are concrete, whereas extroverted intuition is seeing concrete facts.
Mm.
Introverted intuition is looking at things and just like pulling them exactly out of thin air, and we think, oh, this is totally like true and stuff. And 9 times out of 10, or maybe more than that or less, depending on, we get it right, but it's not the same as the way you do it.
No, I think NE is very directed. We can direct it the way we want. And then it's, yeah. And if something catches our attention, NE is voracious in its desire to explore ideas and topics. If something suddenly catches my attention, it's like, there's a massive sucking of information. It can be anything too. I've seen this so many times in my, I noticed too, it can happen with people, but I think it can be off-putting for people when they don't realize that our little ENFP scope is locked into you. It happened in one of my classes. I have an ESL class that I teach on Wednesdays. And, oh, it was a linguistics. Somebody doing work in linguistics was here doing their PhD work here at a university. And as soon as they said that, I just locked into them. And it's like, I even said jokingly, okay, you can all leave now. I got a linguistics professor here. So like, go away. I'm joking with them, right? But they're all laughing at me because they know me pretty well. So yeah, just all of a sudden I'm riveted into like, just, okay, here's a asset of like a wealth of information I can tap into. NE does this. But it's very directed and can be very directed and very focused, or it can be just we're wandering around in our day just sucking in data, but not necessarily anything specific or targeted. But when it gets targeted, it's very intense too, I find.
Yeah.
Usually driven by our values. Usually. Not always, though.
A kind of a weird thing I've noticed about ENFPs is I think ENFPs in particular are very sympathetic and empathetic people in general.
I
And
would
I find ENFPs very blunt. Do you
really?
think that's a fair assessment?
I'm getting a little bit more blunt with people lately because to be quite honest, I'm tired of people and their silliness in life. You know how people can be? Okay, you know how people can be, right?
Yeah.
sometimes they're not particularly kind, and sometimes I call people on it more and more. It's like, what do you get out of this? What do you get out of being like this?
Yeah.
I'm getting actually more blunt.
And I don't even mean blunt in like the traditional way or like you know, something that's like, oh, you're being annoying or something. But I find ENFPs, they don't it's like I think they do have I mean, ENFPs do have a filter, but it's a different kind of filter than like say, you know, an INFJ or something. Whereas when I mean, I found this about ENFPs is when they are thinking something. I mean, and I guess they want it to sound like this, but it sounds kind of out of the blue. At times, they'll say things that are actually like it's like they'll acknowledge the elephant in the room.
Yeah,
I always find that ENFPs do this, and sometimes it's a little off-putting for people,
yeah,
or they'll just say like what they think about something, like and they don't necessarily I mean, I think they do consider other people, but they don't as much consider other people's I don't wanna say they don't consider other people's feelings, but they're just they may not they may not have the same tactfulness as, like, an extroverted feeler.
yeah, I would agree. We don't necessarily consider other people's feelings about certain things. We act in the way that makes sense for us.
Yeah,
Can create a lot of surprising behaviors, and people may be very puzzled why we're doing what we're doing.
I agree.
Like the one that comes to mind was my one-man protest of a company I don't like called Monsanto, and I just could not sit idly by and let this. They were sponsoring an event here in the town I live, and I do not like this company. So I made up my own little sign and went on the corner and protested against them because it felt so intense. I couldn't just idly sit by and let this happen without people understanding what this company is doing. They're creating a lot of mischief in the world. So apparently I'm a little intense about that.
I think
Yeah.
intense is a good word for ENFPs.
Yeah, I find INFJs are intense, but in a very different way, and I can't quite figure it out yet because I don't get enough chance to talk to you types. You're kind of hard to come by.
Yeah. Well, and that's the other thing which you were talking about earlier is not everybody is interested in typology or just don't know about
Uh, yeah,
um,
they don't seem to think it's of any value, and a lot of people are threatened by it. They think that you're trying to stereotype them. And it's, no, I'm not trying to stereotype you. I'm trying to understand you better, and by understanding how you have functions, it's going to help me to get along better with you.
exactly.
I'll tell you one thing, I think mature ENFPs, and it might have taken me a while to get this, were very, very win-win oriented people. Extremely so. Myself, very like I feel empowered by being empowering with others. So it's a highly win-win perspective for me.
Yeah.
People, that's what I get frustrated by. You can tell my intensity level's coming up, right? Very frustrated when people don't get it. It's like you realize our time here together is precious. Why don't you get it? And this is where I get frustrated with people lately. Sorry.
Well,
Sorry, angsty ENFP moment.
no, that's okay. I think there's a lot to be said about that. I think so many people I mean, I don't believe in I mean, I am a very competitive person, especially in games. But in life, I think you know, there can be healthy competition, but you're not
Mhm.
you're not competing against anybody but yourself. Like
Not
I
really.
really don't agree with competing with other people in life.
Yeah, I'm of the friendly competition. I like everybody to be happy in whatever. It doesn't matter to me who wins or who loses as long as everybody's having fun and gaining something. Winning's just a nice bonus for me in things. So whatever I'm doing.
Well, I hopped over to the live chat.
Okay, you got some. Yeah, I can't see it, so you'll have to let me know about that.
Well, you can also it's a bit different when you do Google Hangouts for the first time, but if you you can open up a new tab actually and
Okay.
go to the video. It's actually on YouTube right now. People are watching.
Yeah.
And what I always do is I just mute the volume on the video and then I look at
Oh,
comments and stuff.
I can watch myself.
Yeah. It's a little bit behind. It lags a little bit. But someone asked, "Where's Frank James?" That's a good question.
Yes, I see that.
Oh yeah, just mute the volume. Anyways, he's well, we were hanging out with each other this weekend, and I don't control his life, but I hope he's going to post a video tomorrow. But
That's
yeah,
a curious thing that you've run into Frank.
yeah.
He's in Pennsylvania?
No, but I'm not gonna say where he's living.
Okay.
Just because he's private about that kind of stuff.
The only reason I think when I first started looking at videos, he ran into Ashley Stone. She met him she was making a video and she bumped into him. Do you know her? I don't know if she's still online.
No, but I know of her. I know
And I think she's in Pennsylvania, so I just kind of assumed conclusion.
I don't know where she lives.
Curious. Yeah, I think she's in Pennsylvania.
Well, he does live on the East Coast, so.
It doesn't, I'm okay. I don't need to know. It's okay.
Well, I mean, it's okay if like certain people know, but the whole public.
And the public doesn't need to know either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't see any. Typically, there's people that have questions, but a lot of people have kind of just wrote comments so far. Questions? Oh, do either of you consider yourself empaths? I mean,
yeah. Yes.
Question. When did you, going off of that, when did you kind of discover that you were an empath? Or have you kind of always known?
When did I discover? Okay, it's very personal, but it's a fair question. I'll give you the answer. I encountered somebody who I believed is a covert narcissist a few years back, and it caused me tremendous grief and suffering. I didn't really know, and then it was after, unfortunately, well, it's on my channel. One of my best friend was an INFJ, and it's the first INFJ encounter I've had. And unfortunately, they're gone now for whatever reason. Don't understand it, which was my impetus to try to understand INFJs. And around that time, we had very strange intuitions about each other, like very, very strange. We knew things about each other without ever talking about them, and I've never had such an experience before. And I started to wonder why. It's like forced me to try to understand cognitive functions. And then I ran into a book about being an empath. I started reading it, and the writer also had discovered she was an empath, having encountered a narcissist as well. So it's a woo-woo topic, empath. What does that mean?
Yeah.
It's like empaths, we seem to feel everything all around us all the time, and it can be both wonderfully joyous and excruciatingly unpleasant. So yeah, we have funny little intuitions about things all the time. They don't always come to fruition. We seem to feel a lot more than, quote, other people. I don't really know. I'm a scientist too, right? Like I come from a physics background. I studied physics and I studied computer science. I have a computer science diploma. So when I started having these kind of strange experiences that I couldn't put any sense to from a science perspective, I didn't know what to make of it. Like I have a lot of synchronicity experiences of very strange synchronicity experiences regularly. I don't know how to make sense of that. I don't know if it's part of being an empath that we just connect things in a very strange way. I don't know. So yes, I think yes, if there is such a thing, I got a little dose of it. But I don't like talking about it because it's a bit out there. It's like, okay, yeah, what next? What other kind of voodoo you got going on, Mark?
No, I can relate to that. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, so my mom, which I thought she was an ISFJ for the longest time. Well, I originally thought she was an ISFP. Then I thought she was an ISFJ, and I really do feel confident with ISFP for her. Um, she doesn't like talking about this kind of stuff at all, and she does see that as, I mean, she does, but she doesn't. Like, she's very creative, but she also is like, well, is it practical? Are you gonna like kind of like, she's like, oh, that silly thing over there. Um, so it's interesting. Um, oh, interesting.
Yeah. Do you get little premonitions about stuff too?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know, I didn't really know like empath. I knew I was empathetic when I was
Yeah. It's
young.
not the same thing.
Yeah,
And having empathy for others isn't the same thing as being an empath.
but as far as becoming like knowing that I was an empath, or just stuff like that, it's the same thing, having experiences with situations and realizing that I think a little bit differently than other people. And it's
Yeah.
interesting because I mean, I have experience with narcissists as well.
Yeah.
I'm not really going to go into who all those people are, but I basically have known a narcissist my entire life. So I guess I have more. It's weird because I don't see narcissists as completely horrible people just because I know one so well. Um, I don't know, it's hard to say, but I mean, it can be very destructive as well.
Yeah. I'm sorry you had that experience. They're very difficult to deal with. I would suggest people if you're a highly sensitive person, I would suggest you learn very quickly how to identify people who are going to be good for you in your life, and to be really coldly blunt about it, like just cut the other people out because they will not help you in the long run. I know that sounds pretty harsh, and I have a couple of decades on you in life experience.
Yeah.
They do not come around. I'm sorry to say that, and it sounds like I'm putting people into a box, but people who are insensitive to you, they don't come around. Either because they can't or don't want to. If you're
Well,
a sensitive person, you have to be very selective in who we let into our lives.
exactly. I mean, this person is older than you actually. But I don't think this person is a bad person. Um, they have this quality about that I mean, not even quality, it's just kind of who they are. Um, but I do agree with I have encountered other narcissists that, you know, like in college, I actually was exposed to quite a few different types of people that I would not say are were always the most positive people. Like I've encountered sociopaths, but sociopaths are more common, and not all sociopaths are like these evil people or something like that. Some Most of the time they're contributing members of society, but I do realize that, I mean, I kind of realized from a very young age that I was kind of a magnet for those kind of people.
Yeah.
Um, but I think actually getting into cognitive functions and getting into personality theory and stuff in the last few years, I think college really was the time, because I was very sheltered up until college. I was very sheltered, so I wasn't really as exposed to other people. I don't know. So I think that can be helpful, and that's another reason to study that kind of stuff, is to kind of realize who you are and what to look out for.
You know what I'm suddenly aware of? How, like, we've just met each other here online. I'm already completely comfortable with you, like that quickly. I feel, you know, something strange that I find by being in the MBTI community, and I know I've just jumped topic. I do know that I move things around like that. I feel I know some of you, even though I only know you through your videos. You and one of the other INFJs that I really like, Kalia. I feel as though I know you. And if I met her in person, it would just be as natural. I don't know why, but I could be wrong. I don't know. It's strange to have an online world and think that you can connect with people who you may or may not ever meet in person. But I feel connected to several of you. One of the ENFPs as well, I feel quite connected to from just her videos. So,
I mean, I agree. Like, I feel very comfortable talking to you, and
well, that's good.
we've thrown this around a bit. And actually, I mean, I would love to do this. Is not even like have it where it's like a certain person's meetup or something, but just as a group, kind of deciding on a location. I was thinking probably just because, I mean, I know it's kind of discriminatory for people outside of the US or like Canada or Mexico, but like a North American um
I would
meetup.
go. You want to have everybody to meet up together, don't you?
Yeah, I think it would be really cool.
Yeah, I'd go. I would go.
I mean, it would definitely, I don't want it to, I mean, if anybody's watching this that knows about TanaCon, do you know what TanaCon is, Mark?
No, what's TanaCon?
There's a YouTuber called Tana Mojo, who's like, I think she's like 20 or 21, very young, and she has like a YouTube channel with a lot of followers, subscribers, like millions of subscribers, and she had this convention because she wasn't allowed, she was banned from VidCon or Playlist Live or some kind of convention. I think it was VidCon. And so she made a convention of her own called TanaCon, and basically, knowingly and unknowingly, she worked with this entertainment company that wasn't, I don't know. Anyways, it ended up being a shit show, and a lot of people got like, basically the max capacity was like 1,000 people in this hotel, and that was like at the very max, and 5,000 people showed up. So it just, a lot of people were in the parking lot getting burnt. But anyways, I always think of like, you know, having a meetup, but obviously it wouldn't be like that anyways. But I feel like if we were to do something, um, I mean, I wouldn't want it to be that structured anyways. Not saying TanaCon was, but like VidCon, I think it would be cool. Well, maybe even meeting up at like a convention like that. But I think um we would want to plan it enough in advance so more people could come and it wouldn't be a logistical nightmare. Because I like think of the extreme of TanaCon in my head. If you're looking for a laugh and like a little and feeling disturbed, look up TanaCon for anybody that's never looked it up. It's a very interesting situation. Yeah.
You know, you seem, for the INFJs that I've met, you seem one of the more outgoing ones.
This is something that is not a very natural thing for me. I mean, it is natural with like, it's weird because with you, I do feel, even though, I mean, I feel like I've known you before this because, again, I watch your videos, I'm subscribed to
Oh,
your
thank
channel,
you.
you know, stuff like that. Even though I don't always comment on people's videos, there's more people that I'm subscribed to than people think. But
Do the same. But my favorite types to watch are the INFJs, the INFPs, and the other ENFPs. I seem to watch those types the most.
that's interesting.
You know what I've discovered too, and I'm sorry if Oh, this is going to sound awful. So I'm sorry, entire T types. I have a very hard time connecting with T types.
That is interesting.
All my, I have only about, I have 6 people that I consider friends right now, and they're all Fs. And I've tried to develop connections with T types. It doesn't work for me. And I'm starting to realize why.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't like it. Oh, except there's an ENTP I rather like. He gave me a gift this week, so he's endeared himself to me considerably.
I
uh,
think I think ENTPs, I mean, well, you share the extroverted intuition, so that might be part of it. But it's
yeah.
interesting to say that because I feel like it's weird because it seems like I typically date F type, but not to say that I haven't dated T types, but I think I mean, I have like I think my friends are pretty split between thinking and feeling. Like I have a lot of I tend to be, well, not a lot, but I tend to be drawn to INTJs in particular. Like I really like INTJs, and then INTPs tend to be drawn to me. So it's like I have a lot of INTJs and INTPs in my life, and also some ENTPs, um, and then some other different types as well. But I think the majority of my friends are INFP, ENFP, ISFJ.
ISFJs are lovely. I know several ESFJs.
Yeah,
Did you say ISFJ or
I
ESFJ?
said ISFJ, but my nana's an ESFJ. I think ESFJs are very sweet people.
They are. They're very loyal people.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, I have set one of my two of my friends are ESFJs. One of my students is an ESFJ. They're very loyal people.
Yeah, they are loyal. It's weird because like at the same time I do really love ESFJs, but they also get on but it also might be like the fact that in Socionics I'm ESFJ's supervisor.
Mhm. Oh, okay. I don't know. All the ones I've met so far are quite lovely.
They are very lovely people.
Yeah. I had a big old crush on, she doesn't even know. I had a big crush on an ESFJ about 2 years ago. They are completely oblivious to the fact that I have a crush on them, as far as I know. But yeah, she's just lovely. Yeah.
Um, would you kind of like to talk about how you were growing up in your childhood?
We can talk about it. Well, since you brought it up, I'm the survivor of childhood trauma from my parents. I know that's a big bomb to drop on you. I went through long-term emotional and psychological abuse with my parents.
Oh,
Yeah, I know it's pretty awful, but I worked on it. I had to do a lot of therapy, so it was pretty hard to get over. Yeah, I know. I dropped a big bomb there. I thought about mentioning it on my channel to help other people who've gone through these kinds of struggles. So yeah, I don't even recall what happened to me. Certain years of my life are completely missing because of what happened to me. I don't know. So yeah, pretty awful. They're alive on the universe, which is possibly why I'm an empath. I've been thinking about this a lot.
that you dealt with trauma at a young age?
Yeah, a lot of some of the other people that I seem to type in this kind of empath zone have also experienced trauma.
I mean, I definitely, so my parents are divorced, and I'm not going to get into that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty difficult stuff to talk about
There is some
here
pretty,
on live universe here.
exactly. Without kind of going into the details, it wasn't the easiest situation. Um, one of them was more boisterous than the other, and it was very hard and something that I also, growing up, had. I mean, partly why I cried so much. Um, But yeah, definitely not the same level of what you have seemed to experience.
Yeah.
Kind of relate in some way.
Yeah, it's unpleasant. And unfortunately, I've known other people who've gone through these terrible experiences, and yeah, it's pretty awful. It's hard to understand. It's hard to understand that parents would harm their own children. But unfortunately, it happens. It happened to me. My sister was traumatized pretty badly as well.
Oh, wow.
And my mother was traumatized by my father. So, yeah, that's pretty awful. Yeah, it took a long time to recover. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, I do think that it's horrible that we go through these situations, but it does make us into. I mean, I don't wish that kind of stuff upon anybody, and
No, I don't either. But I don't understand. The older I get, the less I understand why people choose to be hurtful in any way towards one another. It makes less and less sense to me the older I get. And just learn to deal with your conflicts in healthy ways.
yeah,
But unfortunately, a lot of people are very maladapted. They have internal problems that they cannot resolve. But yet we have tremendous resources to resolve whatever internal conflicts you have. You know, if you have whatever problem you have, there's help available. Go take the help necessary. Don't take out your frustrations, angers, hatreds on the other people around you, especially the people that you love. That makes no sense at all. So,
yeah, I agree. Well, I mean, I don't, in a way, I don't blame people, especially at a younger age, when they, kind of when I was younger, and I actually want to make a video about this, about bullying, because I was bullied quite a bit in school. And I look at these children, I mean, even as a child, I would look at these children and think that they probably had, like, maybe they came from an abusive home,
mhm.
parents were alcoholics, or, like, some type of thing. Like, that's kind of the things that I would think about at a young age. And I know that that's kind of like, I think a lot of kids don't really think about those kind of things. So I felt like I didn't need to, I almost felt sorry for them in a lot of ways. But
Yeah. I didn't get bullied that much, but when I did get bullied, it didn't last very long because I would stand up for myself. I remember two two fellows in school that started to bully me, and they'd push me so far until my fist ended up on their face. I don't solve my problems that way anymore. When I was in elementary school and early high school, that's how problems got solved. They just pushed me so much and I'd snap and then bam. And people were always shocked because I was this quiet student and never did anything wrong. And yeah, I remember one of the teachers, she just couldn't believe that I'd punched one of the other students in the middle of the class.
teacher, just kidding.
Yeah, well, I remember it vividly. I can see his face in front of me. I even remember his name. I'm not going to repeat his name, but I remember he threw my books across the room, and I just bam straight into his face, and he just went white, and blood starts trickling down from his lip.
Wow.
You know what? And this probably happens with guys. Once they stand up to the bully, they never bother you again. They never bother you again.
I mean, what my mom did is, this was a bit different. I actually was bullied by boys on the bus. I mean, I was bullied by girls as well. It was all verbal, it wasn't physical. But um, my mom actually went to the boys on my bus who were bullying me. She knocked on their doors and talked to their parents, and they didn't ever bully me again. But
Yeah.
but it's different.
It seems for some reason that the sensitive people try to take advantages of us, and I don't really understand why. But I've heard variations of this story so many times. Yeah, I read an interesting thing on the internet about your type, or I saw a graph about it. Your type gets into abusive relationships a lot. Yeah, I don't know why. It seems like you attract these difficult people and they take advantage.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, I agree with that as well. I don't think well, thinking back, there was a guy that I dated when I was 19, 20, who I don't think he was very controlling and
Yeah.
in many ways, but I saw that he was manipulative. The good thing about me is because I kind of grew up with, I mean, from an early age, I knew what kind of a bad relationship was and what, kind of what I didn't want in a guy. So I am very hypersensitive to that. And I know that INFJs are kind of known for staying in relationships in many ways, but I'm kind of the type where if I see things are if I see behaviors like that, I cut it. I don't stay with that person. And it can be very abrupt and it can be very out of the blue, but I'd rather get out of a bad situation than, so I think I'm a bit different, but I can see how easily that can happen because I definitely have had friendships with people that are not the best. Like one person in particular I've talked about before. I won't go into too much detail, but I was close friends with this guy, and it was never a romantic thing between us. Um, or at least on my end, I never saw him in that way. But he did some abusive. There were some abusive patterns that I saw, and then I got even closer to him. Not like closer in proximity to him, and I was around him all the time. And he did some, I mean, basically, he, there was legal action that had to be taken. So,
It's pretty intense, Emily.
yeah.
So it's one of those other things we have to be careful about who we let into our lives, that other people can, I don't know, they don't understand. It seems people don't understand how pure of heart some of us can be, and they don't get it. And then they take advantage of us. And it seems that I have in my past lived on hope that the people are going to get it and come around, but they never do. It puzzles me to no end. There's this kind of sense, and I spoke to, I'll just mention her name. Robin is the therapist I work with still. And I've discovered something about myself in the last few years. I have a tendency to project good aspects of myself onto others, believing that they have them. And then I realize that they don't. I'm just seeing a part of myself I want to see in others, and it's not there. And it throws me for a loop. But it's truly a projection in that I'm not really seeing the truth of this other person. I'm seeing some of myself in them, or putting some of myself onto them, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
I'm kind of blown away later when I realize I've not been seeing the truth. Does that make any sense, what I just said?
Well, it makes sense, and I feel like I do, maybe not in the same way, but I try to see the best in other people as well. And I mean, it's really come out in relationships where I try to see, I think it's kind of something, maybe this naturally happens with people in relationships, is you kind of see people through rose cover colored glasses. And it's like I can see that, and I just work very quickly with piecing those things together, of like seeing that, oh, this person is not who I thought they were, and then
Yeah.
just cutting it off. But I've seen that with ENFPs where they, yeah, my I have some friends, and I won't call them out. It's not something to be, ashamed of, but to give people chances that don't deserve chances, and
Yeah.
very unhealthy people that are taking advantage of them, but they just feel this emotional connection with that person that It's not just relationships, but friendships. And it's like they can't get let go.
These were ENFPs you're speaking of? We seem to get very connected to people, and it's very hard to let go. I'll tell you how I experience it. That FI component that is about our systems of values and how we feel becomes inclusive with the other person that we're really connected to. It's like they're incorporated into our value system. It becomes an extension of us, but not in a really kind of unhealthy fusing sort of way, like in the best possible sense way. But when that happens and then it's not working out, it's almost like having to sever one of our own limbs. And we just can't do it. It's just too, and it takes a very long time. It's been, I still miss my INFJ best friend. It's been almost 2 years. I miss them all the time. It's not painful for me anymore, but I have no idea why they're gone. No idea. We had a wonderful, wonderful friendship. If I talk about this for much longer, I'll start to cry too. But that's propelled me to discover things about INFJs. Have you had any really interesting connections with an ENFP, like almost magical, mystical?
So for example, one of my really good friends, I consider her one of my best friends, Anna. She's been on this channel a few times. I actually did a video with her where we were trying Japanese snacks. There's moments where we really are in sync about things, and it's in a different way. And we have some really deep conversations, and yes, it is a magical thing.
Yeah.
I believe that I knew a guy. Well, I didn't know a guy. I mean, I'm friends with him still, but I haven't hung out with him in a couple of years. I have a friend named Earl that I believe is an ENFP, and it's like when we went on this road trip. It was basically we were driving to Indiana from Georgia. We were going to a Model European Union conference, and I was driving. Earl was in the front seat. My ENTP friend, who's one of my other really good best friends, Valerie, was in the back seat. And Earl and I were just like being crazy next to each other, but like in different ways. Like we were just kind of feeding off
Yeah, we feed off each other, don't we?
Yeah.
There's a funny synergy about ENFPs and INFJs that I've tried to understand, and it does seem to happen.
Yeah.
It's this flip-flop. Did you see Carolyn Zakowski's video about the deep sea diver and the long distance swimmer? I know her work. She's another INFJ. She's a Jungian analyst.
That sounds familiar.
It's about our flip-floppy natures. We seem to have a funny synergy with each other. But until you encounter this and realize it is happening, I tell you, when the world will never be the same for me since encountering my first INFJ friend. It's changed the way I see the world completely. Didn't know about this, so that's part of the impetus for my channel too. I don't know if it happens with all ENFPs and all INFJs. Maybe not, probably not, but sometimes.
I mean, it probably doesn't happen all the time, but like when the two give each other a chance and they're as close as what it sounds like you were and what I am with certain friends, it is an interesting experience that I don't experience with other types.
No. I'm not particularly close to anybody right now. I have a few good friends, but I wouldn't say I'm super close to anybody right now. Not really. Like Katie, my niece, who's an ENFP, I would say she's the person I'm closest to right now. No.
That's interesting. And I think as we get older, I think we also
As we get older. What are you, 25?
Yes, I am 25, but I'm just saying, I mean, as we get older, so like I have realized, I don't think of myself as, well, sometimes I do think of myself as old, but I realize that I am still a baby in many ways. But like,
You have a duality about you. Do you realize this? But although I see dualities in other people, I realize I have a duality about me. You are both very wise and deep and sometimes quite giddy and childlike. But it's quite lovely.
it's interesting because this is why, well, I mean, I feel like I plug Socionics in a lot of videos, but it's interesting if you look at the descriptions for the female and male profiles. They're not like, I'm not saying that these are law, and actually some of them are a little too specific and kind of confusing. But if you look up the IEI, which is what INFJ, well, in MBTI, I believe it's INFJ and MBTI. It's an INFP in Socionics, um, and it's called IEI. But if you look up IEI female description, I feel like I hit that description pretty well, and they kind of do describe that, the same thing you kind of said, that they have this childlike quality, but also, yeah, the other stuff. So.
Yeah. Several of the INFJs remind me a little bit of my friend. Not, yeah, it's interesting to see it. It's not that you're all identical, but there's certain similarities and traits. I think I encountered another INFJ recently too. I was in a grocery store and I was buying something and I got INFJ vibe. I almost want to ask people. Yeah, there's somebody else I know that is one too, and it suddenly just dawned on me.
Wow.
Yeah, I have a bit of, I don't know how good my radar is yet, but yeah, I was pretty sure. It's like, you're an INFJ, aren't you? You're an INFJ. Like, I don't know if they don't all know, right? Until you do the type and you type accurately.
Yeah, exactly. That's the key word, is accurately, because a lot of people take the test and there's nothing wrong with it, especially if you're taking it in school or just like socially. People will take the test and not think about it and just kind of get a result and be like, oh, this kind of fits me, but it's not, it may be off. Actually, this is a bit off topic. But I saw this in the comments and I think it would be an interesting thing to talk about. I don't know if you really have any experience, but what do you think about ESTJs? That was a question.
Oh, I know only one ESTJ. Wow. And she's one of my students. I hope she's not watching. I doubt she would, but extremely difficult to get along with. But my understanding of typology, I can see why they are the way they are. Wow. It's very tricky. But this is only one, and they're also from another culture. And I find I'm in the situation of having to teach them some sort of emotional intelligence. Wow, not an easy task. They're quite blunt and very direct, but very off-putting. But I only know one, and I can't. But yet, in a strange way, she's quite kind and generous. So it's very confusing at times. I type all of the students I do one-to-one work with. This helps me to understand where they're coming from and how I can maybe work with them better.
Yeah.
I tell you, I do struggle with T types. I don't know. I've been noticing I've been doing a lot of work on communication skills with people and developing my own better, particularly listening skills. I noticed a lot of T-type personalities have slightly aggressive listening skills. They're listening, but only to find fault with your arguments. I see this a lot in T-type personalities.
Interesting.
Whereas I converse with people to seek fairness and understanding. The idea of me being right over you being right, or me being wrong, you wrong, has no meaning whatsoever in communication. It's all about connection, exploration, meaning, fairness. Because I find T-types seem to be wanting to find who's right and who's wrong, and that doesn't work for me. And I find that's a bit of a struggle with that's the struggle I see why I struggle with T-types right now. They probably have an irrational nut job though. It's like, what, Mark, why do you have to feel so much about everything? Why do you have to do this? Because it feels right. And if it doesn't feel right, I'm not going to do it. Do you realize that's illogical?
Yeah.
They probably think I'm a crazy person, so.
Well,
but yeah, highly logical. I mean, I got a computer science degree, you know?
it is interesting. I mean, I don't think all thinking types are exactly that way, but I do see exactly what you're saying. I think that if we're thinking in comparison between F and T, like that, if you're either extroverted feeling, introverted feeling, or extroverted thinking, introverted thinking, I think people that prefer extroverted thinking or introverted thinking higher do tend to be a little bit, they are more blunt in some ways and more direct about certain things. And I have seen certain qualities that you just talked about. It's interesting talking about ESTJs. I have a few experiences with ESTJs, but one of them is a I've talked about this before, but this individual was my boss at some point. This was years ago, but she was. I think she's like the poster child for ESTJ. She created her own business. And I feel like I mean ESTJs, it's like I admire them in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I admire this one too. She's achieved a great deal of success very quickly because they're very driven to achieve their goals, whereas I'm not as good at that.
Yeah. Well, they're very so with this individual, which it's funny because she actually, I don't know if she watches any of my videos, but I mean, if you're watching, I mean, hello, I guess. But I mean, I don't mean any harm by it. We don't really get along very much. I mean, it was
Yeah.
like basically I quit from that job because I felt like she was mistreating me more so than other people, even though I was like I always did my job, and I was always on time, all of those things. But we just fundamentally did not see eye to eye on things and but anyways, she, it's interesting. I find, and this might be discriminatory, but I find ESTJs very fakey. Um, fakey. They're very good at they put on this like I feel like a lot of ESTJs I meet, they have like this huge smile and they're just, it's a certain look that they have. Kind of animated face, but also it's lacking emotion in a lot of ways. Like it looks kind of just fake in a way.
They don't seem to be very in touch with their emotions.
Yeah.
I think this seems to be true of a lot of the T types. They're not as in touch with their emotions as the F types. I think we do them a bit of a service in some way. We teach them it's okay to have feelings and understand them and work with them in healthy ways.
Yeah.
But it's not their go-to, right? Because it's not their dominant functions. It's not right. It's not in the top two. So they struggle with them.
Well, and with ESTJs, I don't think they consider other people's emotions really at all. But I mean, I think they are, in a way, they can be very generous. I found this with the ESTJs I do know is they're very generous. I know as ESTJ guy that I actually, at a distance, I don't mind. I actually think someone that's very likable.
I don't mind him. What a lovely I don't mind you.
Well, okay, like I actually am open to being around.
I know. I understand. I have these experiences too, and I really truly wish I could like everybody, but I'm starting to, I've realized for a while you can't like everybody, and not everybody's going to like you. I know. I wish I could, but I don't like everybody.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I say this, but I would love to not marry. Oh my gosh, why was that word coming out? I do not want to marry an ESTJ. No offense to ESTJs out there. That's probably the only type that I would be like, no, I'm not. I'm not going to marry this type. I mean, there's other types where I'm just like, but
I think we wouldn't be a good match for them. They're gonna think we're nut jobs, dealing with our feelings and sensitivities all the time. We're not a good match. And I know we're not supposed to match people based on typology, but I kind of think I need a feeler in my life.
well, it's weird because I mean, I'm dating Frank and he's an INFJ as well, but it's like I want to date, like ideally in my head I'm like, well, ideally I want to date, there's certain types that I'm just like, I want to date, I want to be with this kind of person, but I just tend to get in relationships with feeler types. Anyways, what I was trying to say, instead of marrying an ESTJ, I do want to interview an ESTJ. I mean, I want to interview all of them, but
Yeah. I don't think I've met all the types yet. INFP. Oh, here, is it your sister's ISTJ, right?
yeah.
I've met a few ISFJs. Do you know any Did you say one of your family members was ISFJ?
So I thought that my mom was. She's definitely not. She's ISFP. But one of my good friends, Sydney, is an ISFJ, and I have dated an ISFJ.
I know 3 ISFJs. I can't quite figure it out, but they all have a slight unusual aloofness about them.
Yeah.
It's hard, but in a way you would think they wouldn't be aloof. The one I'm thinking of is one of my friends, and I was talking to them, and he has a really lovely wife who's an ESFJ, and we were talking about it because I know their type. And she goes, "Yes, you're right. He's a bit like this." And I go, "Yeah." And I don't know why, and I've seen it in 3 of them. It's just fun. For ISFJs, they're very reluctant to let people into their inner core. I don't know. I don't know. It's interesting, but I've seen the same trait. I know we're not supposed to see traits, but I've seen certain patterns start to show up in certain types.
Yeah, I mean, I can agree with that to a certain extent. From the ISFJs that I know to be ISFJs, like my friend Sydney and my ex-boyfriend, both of them, it's interesting because they have this other playful side as well, but they're very, in a way, selective of who they really gravitate towards, and that might also be an introvert thing.
Yeah.
Which is another thing that I've noticed about ENFPs, and I think ENFPs can be extremely introverted, and that's why I think a lot of people that aren't ENFP can easily type as being an introvert. Um, they have especially when they're younger, I feel like they can be seen as very introverted.
I typed as INFP when I first learned about MBTI. I don't even remember how I came about it, but I typed INFP all the time, and I was quite withdrawn and shy back then. The transformation has been almost remarkable, but I wanted to push myself to be more outgoing, to develop friendships and possibly relationships. So I really pushed myself really, really hard to put myself into social situations that scared the crap out of me. Yeah. But I overcame it, and then now you can't get me to shut up. I talk to everybody, and I talk to everybody like I've known you all my life, and people don't know what to do with me anymore. It's like, well, we're all basically fundamentally human beings, different in various ways, but like, you're given a chance to get to know each other. What's the problem? But I come across this way, like with even just strangers on the street, and they have no idea what to do with me. Because as far as I can tell, pretty much all the facade has been completely stripped away.
Wow. That is interesting how we develop in our types. Something that was interesting that was brought up by Samantha in the comments was she doesn't like hugs that are like when people pat you on the back. It's interesting that you brought this up, Samantha. I mean, which might not be too surprising. I know a lot about body language in general, and I told
Yeah.
my sister this about hugs because she used to do this. My sister used to be a back patter,
That matter.
and I told my sister this. I was like, if you want to give someone a good hug, because she always thought she was like good at hugging. I was like, no. That always feels like, okay, well, let's stop. She saw it as something that was comforting. Like she thought it was, again, she's an ISTJ. I mean, she can be emotional, but that's just not her strong suit is like, understanding other people's emotions to that extent. But I told her you need to like actually hug people because when you pat someone on the back, you're letting know like basically, okay, let's end this. That's not you never want to hug someone that way. I mean, I don't even hug people I don't care for that way. Like I don't pat people on the back unless it was like a situation where it's like I wouldn't even pat. I would just be like, "Get away," kind of thing. So maybe, hopefully, people understand that it's something that people don't know, and it's not a common thing to really know. Is that is how powerful hugging someone
Yeah.
without patting them on the back can be.
Yeah. If somebody can do it, like hold like 15 seconds of a hug,
Yeah.
you get a really, you know about oxytocin? It's a chemical, a bonding chemical, but it brings it out when we have contact with each other. Yeah, our society seems very disconnected to me right now, to be honest. People are very, I live in a very cold society here where I live in southwestern Ontario. Nobody knows exactly. I've kept it a secret. I'm near Toronto, but the environment I live in is quite conservative and quite cold. It's been very hard for me here, and they don't know what to do with me. It's like, "Hi, how are you today?" And like, they don't know what to do with me, so it's very unpleasant for me here, to be honest.
I can see that.
Yeah, so I don't like it. Yeah, I've been alone today. I didn't have anything to do, so I was looking forward to this. I was mentally preparing in my head for about a week.
Really?
Yeah, I do this thing. I do it with a lot of people, but they don't know because I have like these imaginary conversations with people. So I've been having imaginary conversations with you on and off for about a week. So you don't know because it's just going on in my head. It's like, but I do this when any time I think I'm interested or connected with somebody in some way, I have imaginary conversations with them in my head. I'm betting I'm not the only person that does this. Bet a lot of us do it.
Well,
So
I sometimes think of things, but yeah, it's a bit different. Sorry. Uh,
yeah, I do it all the time with all kinds of different people, but there has to be some significance before it would happen. It doesn't happen with everybody, but yeah, for about at least a week and a half, I've been having imaginary conversations with you.
wow, I feel honored. Uh,
Yeah.
so I think this kind of goes on the hug thing, but I believe it was the great optimist asked, "Do you like when people you don't know play hit you, or when strangers touch you?"
Me?
Yeah, well, both of us, I guess.
I'm pretty open person. I'm ridiculously open person. It freaks people out. Like, oh, one of the other things I do a couple of times a year, I teach assertiveness training. I do assertiveness training with people to understand boundaries and needs, basically, is the core. And we do this exercise about personal space. But I realize my personal space is very close for much closer than most people. If I was meeting you, I'd hug you like the day we met, no problem. And
I
I
mean, I do too.
strangers, I've hugged strangers.
I hug strangers too. I mean, I kind of gauge whether people want to be hugged or not, typically. Um, but I prefer hugging. And unless there are some people that I just don't want to hug, but
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of people I don't want to hug, but yeah.
I I
Yeah,
per-
recalling one of the strangers I hugged, it was this will just show how I am, and this is different than other people. It was I was driving and it was a slippery day in early winter here in Canada, so it was icy, and I slipped a little bit near a light driving, and the woman behind me, she slipped as well, but she bumped my car a little bit. So we got out and did a check. I said, "It's okay, no problem," and I hugged her. I said, Go have a nice day. There's no big deal. Just be careful." So like I hugged somebody who bashed into my car,
I mean,
right?
I do that too.
Yeah. Like I just, it's okay. It happened. It's no big deal. Nobody's hurt. I'm glad we're okay. And I hugged her. But most people yell at each other at car accidents. I hug people. So
Yeah. No, I mean, I try to, if it's possible, I try to have people feel comfortable, even if it is like, even if I wasn't the one at fault. Going back to like the play hitting and stuff like that,
hitting, yeah.
I don't really like when people, well, first of all, I don't think I would really like a stranger to play hit me just because
No.
not a, also I don't like when people poke me in the side.
But
Or
who likes being poked?
some people like I
It's
don't
like
know why
teasing.
people, I don't know why people like do that, but I hate
It,
that. Especially
it
because
could,
people always poke me in the side and they think it's my side, but they're poking me in the rib. So
yeah. I wonder if it's flirtatious type behavior, but not a very comfortable flirtatious behavior. I would imagine you attract a lot of male attention, by the way. So I could see a lot of guys wanting your attention and trying to get to know you.
I mean, I did have that experience, but I don't think it's always guys that do that. Just I think sometimes, and I think it's like kind of, I think people sometimes think I am pretty open,
Yeah.
but they also, I have people that aren't as outgoing come up to me and do things that they wouldn't typically do. And it's like I'm kind of, I mean, and I know I'm not the only person, but it does seem to happen to me, more than certain people in my life, where it's like these people come up and do certain things. Not just men, but women as well. Like this girl in my class growing up, I think I've mentioned this before, but this was in high school. This was like 11th grade or something. And I've had this like my whole life, my sister and I both. But like people will play with our eyelashes, or I mean, like, will ask if our eyelashes are fake. And like I don't really have that much mascara on right now, so like the tips of the eyelashes are kind of
You have
off.
very distinct eyelashes.
Well, thank you. But this girl used to just go like this to my eyelashes and just go up to them and like play with my eyelashes. And that
Yeah,
was like a no for me.
that'd be a no. Yeah, that'd be a no for most people, I think. Do you tell people? Are you good at setting boundaries with people now?
I think I'm better at it, yeah.
It's important. I've been teaching this for about 4 years now. And when you teach it, you start to really understand that most people struggle with it, knowing when people have intruded and then when to say no and when to say yes. I'm pretty sure I've had two INFJs come through my assertiveness program. I know for a fact one because they saw me at a coffee shop recently. We had a nice conversation. So they're different than you. I've noticed flavors of INFJs now, but I can't really make head nor tail of it yet because she's different than you, but
There's
definitely INFJ.
flavors.
Yeah, Yeah, I can't make head nor tail of it yet.
Well, someone also said about,
I think there's flavors of ENFPs as well.
yeah, no, I agree. I think my friend Anna is definitely different than you. Well, also, I think male and females can look different in the types. Um,
I think so.
we got another one from the Great Optimist. It's what about kissing? I don't even like kissing family members. How do you feel about kissing people other than your significant other?
Well, I don't have a significant other. It's been a while since I've kissed anybody, and I discovered I'm actually rather good at it. But it's been a long time. It's been over a decade.
Wow.
Yeah, well,
Well, when I think about kissing, I don't think about like maybe a romantic kiss. Um, I mean, I do like those kisses as well, but I'm like Samantha. Samantha said this, but she kisses her like friends on the cheek sometimes. I don't really
yeah,
like strangers. I mean, unless they're a family member that I don't really know very well. Um,
I occasionally kiss people on the cheek.
I don't kiss people on the lips that aren't my significant other. Sometimes, and this might sound weird for people, but sometimes, like, my mom will kiss me on the lips, and that sounds really weird. Like, not in the
Yeah.
sexual way, but and my nana sometimes does that as well. But it's not typically intentional. It's usually a cheek thing. But I've kissed all of my friends on the cheek or on the
I
lip.
think at some point it seems like kissing on the lips is a strong intimacy, and most people won't do it unless it's somebody they're very intimate with.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's probably the way I feel about it. I would not know. They would have to be, yeah, the one.
Yeah.
I don't even kiss my nieces.
Yeah, I think it also depends on the people. Like I grew up in a family that does kiss. Like, I mean, for the longest time, I mean, Samantha also noted this is like it's more common maybe in. I mean, I feel like in some other cultures too. Like, but like like growing up, I used to basically always kiss my family members on the lips. And that sounds really like it sounds weird, but I never saw it as weird. It was
No, it's what you're used to, right? It's how you're socialized.
Yeah, it was never, more than but as I got older, it was always like on the cheek or the forehead or something like that. But yeah, I mean, I guess I grew up in a kissing family, if that makes sense.
Well, it's yeah, I think a lot of that is social, how well you were socialized and what the social constructs were around about physicality, how they were. You probably just perpetuate them during your life, right?
Yeah.
I used to work with somebody who used to hug everybody. It was a bit unusual.
Like
And he,
anybody they meet or just in
well,
general.
at work, he'd give you these really warm hugs if you did something that he was happy with. But it used to freak out the other males. I was fine with it. It felt a little odd, but
It I feel like at work it can be very odd. I feel like you kind of can't really like there I mean, especially so there was a middle-aged man, I think he still works at this place that I used to work at. I don't think he's creepy and I don't think his intentions were bad, but it was a little bit odd. He used to just hug people all the time.
some
Like
people are like that. They're very warm and affectionate.
but it was at times inappropriate.
Yeah, you gotta be careful, right? Also, because I've been teaching assertiveness for a while, I often tell people uh, I'm in the very strange position of having to teach people how to communicate with me and how to set boundaries with me. I give you a case in point about boundaries, and this isn't physical boundaries; it's just like personal space boundaries. So I had to go and do I wanted to do something. I wanted to go to one of our discount stores. We call them dollar stores up here in Canada.
We call
And
it dollar stores too.
yeah, and one of my students was going there. So I said, okay, let's go together. So I'm all bubbly and enthusiastic, right? And then I notice as we're there, I'm detecting signs of discomfort. So I had to check it out and go, oh, you're not happy that I'm here with you. So then I have to teach them, okay, because I've intuited their discomfort, and it's like, you would rather just be here doing your own thing right now, wouldn't you? And she's kind of nodding, but I can see she's uncomfortable and having to set the boundary with me. I said, okay, here's the way you do it. And I had to teach her this. It's like, okay, so I'm really happy to come to your class, but I need to come shopping by myself, and I'll see you next week. I'm having to teach people how to set boundaries. I don't have to, I have no problem with me setting boundaries with other people. Other people don't set boundaries with me and they let people come in. But it's a problem because then the person doesn't realize that they've intruded. You get what I'm meaning here? And they may be taking on something that they don't really want to take on. But we have to learn to do this. We have to be able to say no in a polite way so that things are clear between people. Otherwise, a lot of miscommunication happens. People get hurt. People jump to conclusions. They make false assumptions about the nature of the relationships. It can be very tricky. And we have to be strong. Say, you know what? I really like you, but I need to be on my own for a while.
Yeah.
I find introverts seem to be struggle with it more for some reason.
Well, I think so too. I mean, it's been something that I've kind of had to perfect. But I am pretty good about telling people, hey, I mean, in some ways, I don't try to be blunt about it, but sometimes it's like, I don't want to do this.
No, no. I teach them the sandwich technique. Say the positive thing, put the part that's the discomfort part in the middle, and then end it with a positive note.
Yeah.
I would like, for instance, if I had to do, for instance, this would be just a thought I had in the moment. This is not factual, but I said, I really like talking with you now, Emily, but I have to study for an assignment. I hope we can have an interview again. That would be the way I handle a boundary issue with anybody. Say the thing that I need to say, but put it between two positives.
Yeah.
I'm teaching this for a while. It's so easy, and nobody knows how to do it. People are not very good communicators. Yeah, I don't know. It's really weird. And of all people, I had to learn to do this. It astonishes me that I do the work I do now because I'm not trained for it. I've become this like communications instructor for people, but I don't know why. Life seems very strange for me right now, Emily. You have no idea.
In what way?
It's just very strange. I don't know. Things seem like the position I find myself in, mentoring people and being like, you know what ENFPs are told we are, and it seems to be true for me. We're supposed to be these champion personalities, and it seems that I've fallen into the role a little bit here and there, but I never realized this. Nobody has educated me on this, but it seems that I've become it. But I really didn't think much about it, but I've somehow become it, unwittingly so. I think a lot ENFPs do have this ability as we mature. I think people respond to our authenticity. They like seeing a person who walks the walk and talks the talk. It's not a hypocritical piece of bullshit. I get compliments for some of my students, and they like, once he's an ENTP, says, you know, Mark, you really raised the bar for the rest of us. And I go, that's my function. I'm supposed to, and by raising the bar for you, I raise the bar for myself. So I talk like this now. I don't know. It's very strange.
Yeah.
Sometimes I wonder who I've become, is I guess what I'm saying.
It's interesting. I am kind of interested to see how, I evolve as I grow up as well and go through certain experiences. But I think I've also changed. I think I mean, I knew about the sandwich technique, and I think I just naturally do that as well. Um, Jeffrey Sherman said that he naturally does that, and
Oh, that's good. It's
yeah,
a very good skill to develop.
yeah. I mean, there's so many things about communication and body language and stuff like that that you can learn about people that will just make a huge difference in people and how you interact with others. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, like for example, not at this very moment, but in in a few minutes, I'm gonna have to do the sandwich technique because I haven't had any food since like 12. So,
Okay.
and actually no, I'm not gonna get a sandwich. I'm getting some noodles. But
Noodles.
my mom made some dinner right before this.
Nice.
But yeah.
So, yeah, one of the things I know about INFJs, it's I could talk for hours with you. I already know. This conversation could just go on for hours and hours and hours. I don't know why. I think that's why it seems that INFJs are one of my favorite types because they will explore different ideas, and most people I find won't. And it's very frustrating for me. I think this is also one of the funny things about ENFPs. When you first meet us, we seem to be this capricious, not serious, silly group of people, which I can be that quite a lot. But we have this other side of us that is very exploratory in deep areas of aspects of who we are. So I seem to have, yeah.
No, I've noticed that.
But
One
you
of
have to see the silly side first.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's what ENFPs are known for. Like in the future, I have this video idea of doing all of the stereotypes of like basically the video is going to be called if all of the MBTI or all of the 16 types were their stereotype. And I have a very vivid image of what I want the ENFP to be. Because I feel like ENFPs do have that stereotype of being very like this kind of bubbly, quirky individual. But I think that can be very true, especially when you're first meeting them or even like how they appear typically. But when you do get to know them, for example, there's this guy that I mean, we're friends. We kind of had a falling out at a point. It was a misunderstanding that actually I didn't even know about. That basically someone said something that wasn't true, and he had like completely. It was it was a bunch of. I got upset about that because the person that said this was not a nice. Well, not he wasn't a horrible person, but anyways, basically, kind of came into my friendship with this one guy, and I was like, mm-mm. But this one guy I used to know more, and I'm still friends with, is we met our freshman year of college in a music class, and I think it's called Synthenesia. So it's where you can see colors, like you
Yeah.
see music,
Synesthesia.
synesthesia or whatever. Yeah, he has that, and actually so he's a very quirky individual, but when I was talking to him, we talked about some really deep things, and I mean, he showed me his art and stuff, but he was telling me about like his family and some really hard things that have happened. And it's like you don't really expect that, or I mean, other people don't expect that from an ENFP to have this like depth,
Yeah.
kind of have this stereotype surrounding.
Yeah. We. I don't have a problem with this stereotype because it appears to be relatively true in my case. That I'm in had these two sides of me: quirky, bubbly, capricious, mercurial, do really spontaneous, silly things, and then have this other side. Yeah, I have a synesthesia as well. I discovered it this year. I have neurotouch synesthesia.
Really?
Yeah, it's a new discovery. Uh,
How did you discover that?
It was reading the empath books I've been reading, and then I noticed on a couple of occasions this synesthesia experience. I'll tell you the first one, or one of the ones that comes to mind, but I didn't know about this. I think if people, there's a discovery I've made this year too. Until you start talking about your inner world and how you function internally, you don't realize that other people have different internal functionings than you do. So people who are synesthetic, like that number color one, probably don't realize other people don't have it, thinking that everybody else, well, 3 is blue. What are you talking about? 3 is blue. 3 is not blue, it's 3. No, 3 is blue, or 4 is yellow. What are you talking about? And then they probably think there's something wrong with them.
Yeah.
My mirror touch one, it was with another student, and I was at his house, and he had ink on his hand, and it was on one of the knuckles. So I thought he bruised his hand. I didn't realize it was ink, and he says, "No, it's just ink, but it looked like a bruise." And just moments later, I'm feeling the same tingling sensation on my hand, on the mirrored side. And it's happened to me. I feel the touch somebody's earring. And I picked this one up. I think I've been picking it up subconsciously for a long time, and I've only realized consciously that I do this. I was in another group, and somebody had been playing with their earring for a while, and my lobe is twitching. And then I finally put it together. I said, "Oh my God, you're playing with your earring. No wonder I feel this in here."
So weird.
I have a bit of dose of mirror touch synesthesia. So, but I didn't know this until this year. So, but I can't really recall events in the past where I'd noticed this, but it's probably been going on for a long time without me realizing it was a thing. So I think I have another one, but I don't know what it is yet. My friend, who's also highly sensitive person, he sees time differently than I do. He's got one that's called like a calendar synesthesia. His perception of time is very different than my perception of time. So I'm starting to notice, the mind is a very complex thing, and the way we process information can be very interesting, and different people's experiences of reality are different. And we all might think that we all process things the same and our internal worlds are the same, but I'm starting to realize in ways we don't.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. And it's neither wrong nor right, good nor bad, but it can be quite interesting. Yeah.
It is.
Haven't I? I can see the wheels turning there. Like I could see you wanting to take this to a deeper level now.
Well, right? I mean, I am struggling in my mind because I do. It's like I feel the same way about you. As like I could talk to you for hours, and you know, there's certain people, and I would love to meet up with like everybody within reason if everybody's good. Not everybody maybe that watches my videos is good, but all of the good people are the people that are not crazy in a bad way. I would love to meet up with them, and I mean, but there's certain people in particular that I would love to meet up with, and I mean, you are one of those people.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, you're one of them. I'd love to meet Kalia too. You know Kalia from Vase Face? I think wonderful.
I reached out to her and I still haven't gotten a response. I reached out to her a few months ago.
Yeah, I think she's amazing.
Yeah. No, I mean, maybe I should reach out to her again because I don't think she's really been making videos, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, well, there's apparently making videos is a little odd of a thing to put yourself onto YouTube and be that bold about your experiences and share them with other people, be they positive. And some of mine have been very unpleasant. I was very sad when I began my channel. And it was to understand the ENFP INFJ connection and why sometimes it doesn't work, which has been very sad for me. So it was very hard, but maybe it needed to be said so people can learn to understand each other better. I think that was also one of my goals, that people can start to learn to understand each other better and draw from that. Because I remember how very sad I was. I'm not particularly upset about it anymore. I'm just a little bit sad still, but I was quite distraught for about a year. But that was my. I had a couple of fundamental goals, and it was so that people could learn to understand each other better. I could learn to understand others, maybe be representative of how ENFPs are. Uh, you know what? I think younger ENFPs might end up hurting people because they can be very capricious until they mature. They kind of run hot and cold, I think, and they can, maybe not realizing it, have kind of enchanted people and then just disappeared.
Yeah. I mean, I've had that experience with, or maybe not, had that happen directly to me, but I have seen that before.
Yeah. There's a lot of really good information, though, by some of the people. Do you know Scott Morgan? He's an INFJ
Yeah.
in Australia. His work is really good. And you've interviewed Michael Pierce. I think his ideas are amazing. He's brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've listened to all his understanding the types. He's brilliant the way he's put them together.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. You know what I think about INFJs, and this is the most interesting part. You of the types, you have so much to offer the world in a way that I'm getting all misty on you here on this, but this, like I don't know, there's a wonderful well of depth in most of the INFJs that I've seen that you have a tremendous gift to bring to the world. And ironically, it seems that you don't realize you have this. Like you don't realize that you have this gift to bring this thing to the world. But I see it in all of you. I see it. Yeah, see, this is the FI moment right there.
Oh, are you crying?
Wow, but this is the happy crying part, like because that's that value system expressing itself, and I see it in several of you that you have this amazing gift to offer the world, but you don't really see it the way I see it. I think we don't see each other the same. I don't know if that makes any sense.
No, I agree. I mean, I see the same way about ENFPs. I think, in a way, I think ENFPs can be underestimated in and a lot of times they're underestimated because people just see them as these, like they see them from their exterior. But I find some of the deepest people I've ever met are ENFPs.
Yeah,
And some of the most brilliant people, like my friend Earl, who I think is an ENFP, he's absolutely brilliant. And he, you know, very interesting person.
yeah. I know three. I tried to become friends with one, but they've been a bit flaky with me, and they're young, so that's why I've kind of been thinking that they don't realize that I was wanting to connect more with them, and they kind of weren't following through very well, so it upset me, and now I keep them kind of, eh. I bump into them from time to time, but I thought we would become good friends, but it hasn't gotten off the ground. So,
Yeah, I mean, that can be a quality of ENFPs that, some people, it can be a bit different because I have found that ENFPs can be a bit flaky. I also found that ENFPs don't really use social media as much as other types. It's like they do, but they don't. Like they may have social media accounts, but they also don't really always check their notifications and their. I mean, that's just something and it might be a generational thing, but
I have an intense dislike for social media. I hate Facebook. I hate Facebook. It seems so, it's the opposite of connection to me. It's so superficial and disconnecting and drama-y. I cannot stand it.
yeah, I mean, I agree with a lot of those aspects. Again, I mean, I have Facebook because of some of the people that I'm friends with, and I don't really go on Facebook to like. I really don't prefer Facebook in a lot of ways, but I can see that. It's weird because people really get into some big arguments on Facebook, and I don't understand it. It's really
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if it's just ENFPs, but I have no tolerance for any sort of drama of any kind at all anymore. Like, I just don't. So there you go. If you're a feeler type as well to the audience, like if there's drama going around, just get the hell away from it because it will never serve you. You will never find the people you want that are drama people. And unfortunately, a lot of people live their lives according to drama. I read a book called the Empowerment Dynamic, and it was talking about drama triangles and the empowerment triangles, and I try to teach people that. It was very eye opening. Yeah, I have a lot of books, by the way. I'm looking at my bookshelf here. There's got to be about 50 books I haven't read yet. I used to work in a used bookstore, and cool things would come in, and I'd get 50% discount. So I have huge numbers of books of very esoteric subjects.
wow.
You know, I've been to your town. You're in Greenville, South Carolina, aren't you?
Yep, I am.
Back in my slightly crazier days, I did meet somebody over the internet, quite by accident, and she lived there, and I went to meet her. This was about 20 years ago.
Oh wow.
It went horribly, by the way, but I'd known them for 6 months, and I said, "Oh, what the heck? Why don't you just go and meet this person, see what she's like?" And it was a disaster. But I've been to your city.
Yeah, that's crazy. I feel like, I mean, Greenville's changed a lot in 20 years. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I've lived here since late June, so I don't know too much about Greenville still, but I know enough to have lived here for just a few months. But I know that it's changed astronomically since, I mean, between the time that you were there, I mean, here
Yeah.
then. But
So that's not where you're from originally?
I was born in Florida.
Oh, wow.
I was born in Bradenton, Florida, and then when I was about, I think I was less than 1 years old, we moved to Asheville, North Carolina.
Mm.
And I think when I was almost 2, we moved to Anderson, South Carolina, which is really close to Greenville. It's like 30 minutes away, or 20 something. And then when I was 5, I moved to I was about to say the city that I grew. Well, okay. I feel like I don't know if I want to say. I feel like people can piece it together, but I do have family that's. Well, I guess it's not that weird. So the town I grew up in, that I considered growing up, and hopefully this doesn't dox anybody, but I grew up in a town called Peachtree City, Georgia.
That sounds sweet. Peachtree.
It's the golf cart capital of the world. There are over 100 miles of golf cart paths, and almost everybody owns a golf cart.
Wow. That's
And yeah, my high school had over 300 parking spaces just for golf carts.
People actually drive golf carts around all over the place?
Yeah, there's golf cart parking everywhere.
Hmm.
You can get anywhere in the city on a golf cart. But anyways, I grew up in Peachtree City, Georgia, and then I moved to Kennesaw, Georgia when I was a freshman in college, and I lived in Kennesaw for 5 years, and then I moved to Seattle, Washington for 9 months, I think, maybe more, and then I moved here. So, where have you lived, or do you not want to say?
Oh, I don't mind. I've been all over. I'm born in England, but I came to Canada when I was about 4. We came by boat, which is possibly the vaguest early memory I have of life. And we lived in parts of Montreal suburbs for a few years. and then many different places within the Greater Toronto area. I talk about living in Japan because I was in Tokyo for 4 months after I graduated computer science. I got a placement in Tokyo. So that was, by the way, if you get to travel, and you already know this because you're very international in your mindset, it's the greatest experiences you'll ever have traveling to a different culture. Not just going, there's a difference between going on a vacation and then being in the culture, working and living alongside them. It was so wonderful, so wonderful. Being in Tokyo for 4 months or so. I miss that time. It was one of the best times of my life. Like I say, I lived in Tokyo for a few months, so because I kind of like the way that sounds.
I mean, you did. I've been to China. I went on a study abroad for 6 weeks. My sister lived in Japan for a year.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, your sister's. Isn't she still there?
So she graduated from college in December, and she moved to Japan in March. It was either March or early April.
And she's still there?
She's there. She is still there. She's coming back for Christmas, and I'm very excited.
Nice.
I want to make a video with her when she's here. So we have to think of some. I mean, not you, but like, I mean, you can if you want. I want to.
Yeah, she's probably speaking Japanese now.
Oh yeah, well she was, so Anna knows Japanese, but she's trying to get to a native level, so she's going to a language school. She wants to be at a native level of Japanese. But yeah, no, she doesn't speak English over there at all. She only
good for her.
Yeah, she only speaks English. I think she said that she has a friend. It was either Switzerland or Sweden. A friend, I could have sworn she said that. And then I think she talks to certain people, but I would say 80 to 90% of the time she speaks Japanese.
Wow, she's much better than me. I was still struggling Japanese, so I was getting up to the point where I could have little conversations with people, but I would get my words mixed up sometimes. It was very limited, my vocabulary. I've forgotten most of it now. Yeah. One of my students was from Japan, and we became very good friends about 2 years ago. Oh, I miss her a lot too. It's funny how we connect with some people and they're very important to us. It's rare though, isn't it?
Yeah.
The people that we really connect with. That's why I get really bothered with people. Even in my attempt to make friends recently, in the last few years, there's a few people where I feel an instant liking for and an instant connection. And I don't really know what it is exactly, just that I know it's there. And they don't want to do anything about it. It's very annoying. I even told one of the people, aren't you intrigued about this sudden strange connection we have? You notice it too, don't you? And they're not unwilling to do anything about it. It's very strange. It's okay. They're just not ready, I guess.
No, I mean, that can be an intensity that people aren't very, I mean, some people aren't as open to intensity, especially when you kind of say the elephant in the room about certain situations, especially to a personal relationship.
I kind of in a way crave intensity, but I think people think intensity means drama, but it doesn't to me. Intensity
No, it doesn't mean drama to me either.
No, I kind of like intensity. I like other intense people. What's the point of going through life if you're not passionate in some way? It's like, in fact, the opposite bugs me. People who aren't passionate kind of annoy me. Yeah. And maybe that sounds a little, well, I'm sounding intense again right now, but people who aren't passionate about, does anything even matter to you at all? Like what, if they don't have that? I don't even want to be around them. I know that sounds, right? It's like, just wishy-washy to me then. I know that sounds judgy, but I'm a bit like that. But I give people a chance, but the people I connect with probably have, I have a certain intensity about them, which there's not many people like that right now. I think my INFJ friend had a certain intensity about her, but it was deep and enjoyable. Yeah, so.
Well, Mark, I mean,
You have to
I could talk to you for hours. I do think I mean, I am very hungry, so I am going to go.
Well, we can do this again in a month or two if you want to and continue our discussions because I would do it easily.
Oh, I agree. And I mean, I've said this, I say this to, you know, basically everybody, but it doesn't always happen. But I would love to, I mean, we don't have to have it recorded. Again, we could do another recorded one, but it doesn't have to be that infrequent. We can talk.
Yeah. I have so few friends that would be willing or people that are interested in these topics at all. It's very frustrating for me. People don't want to discuss the depth of who we are, purpose or meaning of who we are as people. It's very frustrating actually for me to not be able to find these people. I think that's the other reason I tend to gravitate towards INFJs because you will easily go there where other types won't.
Yeah.
It's very frustrating for me. I think that's why I seek some of you out, but you're also very rare and a little bit shy in a strange, quirky way.
No, I think so. I think INFJs can come off as really shy, especially if, yeah, I mean, I come off that way. Even when,
Yeah,
oh, go ahead.
you don't, it seems some of you don't initiate very well.
Yeah.
You don't understand why. I'm thinking of the person I know and I invited them to come to the museum, but they haven't gotten back to me. Why doesn't make any sense. Why not? Or
It,
maybe they're not comfortable and they don't want to tell me they don't want to go to the museum. So I don't get it.
it's hard.
Yeah. So that's still a bit of a mystery about INFJs. You kind of want to do things, but you don't. Although you do seem to be one of the more outgoing ones that I've met. So
Well, I also have worked on this a lot. I mean, it's not, I mean, I've always been more outgoing with like people that I was closer to,
mm,
but it's something that I've kind of pushed myself to be because I do like that. And I think really I am, I mean, it's weird, but I am like, it's weird to say this because it just doesn't make sense, but like, I feel like I am extroverted or outgoing at home or with people that I know really well. And then with new people, I'm very shy. I've always been that way, but I kind of have made a way of um, making myself more outgoing with strangers and people that I don't know as well.
I think your type kind of sits back for a while and observes before you choose who you will connect with. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I mean naturally, but as I got older and I tried to be more outgoing, I didn't always do that. I would kind of connect with people that I may have not connected to. Um, had I been at more of my natural state of being very shy and kind of quiet around people. But yeah, I really do need to go, Mark.
Okay, go have your noodles.
I'm excited. I think we
Oh,
should.
we could do this again. Maybe I could do this frequently
Yeah.
because
I mean, we could have like an ENFP corner on my channel.
yeah, that would be nice. Can I come and join your ENFP? Do you have some others? I don't know many others that are into the typology ENFPs. Anyway, to go. I can see me starting up another conversation and keep you here for another 15 minutes, but you got to go, Emily.
Okay. Well, I mean, my answer to that is there are certain ENFPs, and I think my friend Anna is very interested in typology, but I do find that, certain types are more frequently into typology. I think INFJs in particular, and INTJ as well. But yeah, I will go. I hope you guys are all having a great night or morning or afternoon, and have a
Thank you for interviewing me. It's been quite an honor. I'm quite moved by this, by the way.
oh,
You're
I'm
welcome.
I'm glad. I've wanted to interview you for a while, even before I asked you.
I had a sense that you wanted to. I don't know why. I just had this sense that you did want to for some reason. And I'm glad it came into fruition.
You were actually one of the, I mean, when I first even started this, like, I forget, I think it was maybe Nolan. It was either Nolan or Corthan Barracuda, that I interviewed first. It was I think it was Nolan. But even at that stage, you were one of the people that I had in mind, and I don't know why I didn't reach out, but here we are now. So,
And it worked. So
all right.
you got to go.
Okay, bye, guys.
Bye, everybody. Take care of yourself.